All right, a lot to dive into on today's Sports Bash with Jason Fitz. He's the host of First Take, Your Take, but you'll be able to hear him August the 17th. He'll be moving to his new time slot. You'll hear that here from 7 to 9, Spain and Fitz on 97.3 ESPN. Looking forward to that. He will follow our show, and he joins us every Wednesday as we got a lot to dive into as we get ready for most of the NBA teams heading down to the bubble. We've got the NHL hub cities all set, ready to drop the puck August 1st. We've got Major League Baseball having camps, and obviously football having a lot of, there was a letter sent out to Eagles season ticket holders. You see this? That they can basically give up their seats for this year. The Ravens put out something today that said they're looking to have about 14,000 people in the building, which means less than like 25% capacity. So the NFL, it's almost here. So are we starting to see that the NFL might have more issues than some of these other leagues? Let's bring Jason Fitz in as he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Jay, what's happening, man?
Living the dream. How you guys doing?
All is well, and we're excited that we're going to be able to hear you after us here in a couple of weeks. So congratulations to you and repairing with Sarah.
Yeah, we've been joking about it when we've been texting back and forth. Like, I'd like to think we're going to be The Empire Strikes Back, like the one sequel that's better than the original. And the great thing about Sarah is, you're right, like Spain and Fitz was my first national show with ESPN, and I was so new to so much of it, and Sarah was so patient through that I'm really excited to get back together where I feel like I can be better even for the team, and we're going to do things. We're going to do things different. We're going to have some fun. We're going to do things the way we did it before, in the sense that I think when you're on at night, you got to hit some different stuff and really get people excited and engaged about it. But we're going to do it in a really fun way, and we're going to make a mark. So we're really excited to get back together.
Yeah, that'll be August 17th, 7 to 9, right here on 97.3 ESPN. Now, before then, while that happens, we should have basketball back. We should get the NBA back and going. The NHL playoffs will be back and going. Baseball will be back and going. But I want to start with the one that won't be, although they'll have training camps and maybe some preseason games. But are we starting to feel a little concerned about football?
Yeah, I'm not just a little concerned, guys. I'm a lot concerned. And, I think the scariest part about it in the NFL sense is we're just now starting to hear some of their plans. And, I think that's a little stunning to me, because every other league got hit with no notice, right? Like, if you're Major League Baseball or the NBA, you were either in your season or about to get your season rolling. If you're the NHL, I can't fault you for not knowing how you're going to get through it. If you're the NFL, you've had months to have every single plan. So the fact that now we're starting to trickle out and hear, hey, stadiums are going to be limited, as you mentioned. And, the NFL Players Association reportedly had a call where Phillip Rivers flat out asked, if I'm asymptomatic and I fail a COVID-19 test before the Super Bowl, do I have to sit it out? And the answer was unequivocally yes. And so I think players are just starting to wrap their heads around it, and teams are just starting to wrap their heads around it, which has me nervous, but also has me saying, what the hell have you been doing the last several months? Like, why are we just now veering to all of this?
If college football has no season at all, will it correlate to the NFL's decision, or do you think it's different because of it being NCAA and student athletes are in play compared to professional athletes?
You know what? Here's the funny answer to that, because that's a great question. I think no matter what happens to college football, the NFL doesn't give a damn. But the opposite, if the NFL doesn't have a season, does that create a situation for college football? Because, guys, I think that the NCAA portion of this it's about liability more than anybody wants to admit at this point. If the Ivy League announces today that they're either canceling sports altogether or they're postponing football till the winter, if that happens and the rest of the Power 5 conferences choose to move forward, God forbid there's a serious COVID issue or somebody, God forbid, dies through all of this, there's going to be legal action at some point. They're going to look around and say, well, why did Harvard figure this out and you didn't? So I don't think the NCAA necessarily affects the NFL. But if the NFL turns around and postpones things, now all of a sudden you're going to have parents looking around saying, what legal action can I take if there's an issue with my child? So I think liability is the reason the NCAA is affected by the NFL.
And there's another big difference, too, is the fact that how much of attendance revenue is generated by college, which is different from the NFL. The NFL gets a lot of revenue from attendance, but that is essentially a huge portion of the revenue for college football teams, correct?
Oh, God, you're so right about that. Like, the NFL is as long as they get their TV money and their endorsement money, they're going to be happy. I mean, sponsorships will pay those bills, and they'll be fine. Obviously, a little hit, but not a big one. But when you're starting to talk about major college football programs, you're talking about money made by butts in the seats. So you've got to, I mean, if you're Alabama football, the TV money's nice, but having 100,000 people in that stadium is even nicer. So, it's a very, I think there's more pressure on the NCAA than any other sport to play, because if there's no college football, what happens economically across the board? We don't have answers to that. And that's the scariest proposition here. They've got to find a way to play. And realistically, I think schools are going to try and find ways to at least let some people in the stands.
All right, let's get your take on the Mahomes deal. Over $500 million. I mean, how do we even put that into words?
I mean, it's tough, but I think the funniest part about it is it's genuinely, this sounds strange, I think it's a win for everybody, because when you look at the next 3 years, the cap number for the Chiefs, I mean, he costs less than Teddy Bridgewater does for the next 3 years, which is stunning, and the Chiefs are right in the middle of a Super Bowl window. Then when they get out of this Super Bowl window, whatever's going to happen next, when you look 12 years out, his cap number is around $53 million. That's still going to be attainable for a quarterback, the way the salary cap keeps jumping up and up and up. So, I feel like, strangely, he gets a ton of money right now. He makes sure the rest of his life, God forbid there's an injury, he's set. So he gets comfort in all of this. And actually, as strange as it sounds, the Chiefs get a deal that I think is still going to allow them to build a team around him. So we're looking at the beginning, in my mind, of one of those Peyton Manning with the Colts and Tom Brady with the Patriots eras for the Chiefs that's going to lead to 12 years of dominance.
Now, with that contract, would you classify him as the one guy that you would want to see in sports more than anybody else? Because that contract would say that he's the guy.
Yeah, well, in the NFL, other than the fact that I'm a Raiders fan, so, I have to deal with him twice a year. But in the NFL, yes. I don't know, though, guys. Like, I think we undervalue the intimacy of what an NBA game is when you go to it, and the memory that's associated with it. So, I mean, we asked the question today on First Take Your Take. And, I mean, if there's one guy in all of sports that I could go see, I'm still not sure, as much as people love to hate him, it's not LeBron, because I genuinely believe in 30 years we're all going to be looking at our grandkids saying, oh, this new player's nothing. I grew up in the LeBron era. Like, all these haters for LeBron are suddenly going to become champions for him. And I still think being able to see somebody like that, the intimate atmosphere that is an NBA game, is more special for me. So I would go LeBron.
I keep asking myself, is there a current athlete out there besides Pat Mahomes that I would be comfortable signing a 10-year extension with? And being in the Philadelphia area, I question, would I do that with Ben Simmons? How do you feel about being tied to Ben Simmons for the next 10 years? Would you be comfortable if that was the team you rooted for?
No, hell no. I mean,
hell no. Whoa.
Hell no. Yeah, I know. That's it. We had this discussion. It's like you guys were wired into our pre-show meeting today, because we went down the list of NBA players that I would say, yes, I want 10 years with this guy. And for me, I can say Giannis. I can say Giannis all day long, because it's the Bucks. And because if the Bucks don't have Giannis, they don't have any relevance. Nobody's going to talk about him at any point. So they sort of hit the life lottery, getting one of the best players in the NBA at a young age. But I am so nervous about whatever that wall is that NBA players sit. And they hear the example brought up in our pre-show meetings were Tracy McGrady, who all of a sudden went from being great to, it's like Casper the Friendly Ghost went after his knees and he was done. And so you start thinking about 10-year deals in the NBA. Oh, that makes me so stinking nervous that I just can't bank on him. As much as you guys know I love Ben Simmons, I just get a 10-year deal. Woo! Not when you're the 76ers, and you as a franchise will hopefully be able to build more and more stars over years.
Is Luka on that list? He had to be on that list, right?
Oh, God, yeah. He's on that list, but, he's on that list because of the style of game he plays, too. Like, I just feel like Luka's one of those guys that's going to be annoyingly good as his game continues to grow through each iteration of what he looks like. So, yeah, Luka was on the list for me for sure. There was some debate about some of the young players, like particularly around the Celtics, and I look at teams like the Celtics and I say, man, they find a way to build every few years. So why lock yourself into 10 years of anybody if you're a franchise like the Celtics or you're a franchise, like the Lakers that can just consistently finds ways to attract names. But Luka for the Mavs, yeah, I would take him on that list. Yeah.
Jason Fitz, First Take Your Take. LeBron 10 years ago, the decision. Is the NBA better off because of that, or would you prefer pre-decision NBA?
Yeah, Stugotz and I argue about this all the time. I think the decision was great for the NBA, and not a lot of people agree with me. I know that, but this formation of super teams, and look, I think we can all agree that there were different versions, different iterations of super teams in the past, but this concept of players wanting to go play with who they want to play, where they want to play, how they want to play, I believe that it's created a more interesting NBA, and I think the numbers show it. In fact, this was supposed to be the year of the duos and more sort of mediocrity across the board and parity across the board. And instead, people seem to be checking out at different points in the season. So we as a society seem to love particularly dominant NBA teams, and then can they be knocked off their perch? That seems to be the storyline for every generation. So I think LeBron's approach actually really opened the door to that for a new generation, and that's why I think it's made the NBA better.
All right, we'll get you out with this one. Obviously, here locally, DeSean Jackson has been a huge topic of conversation. How should the Eagles handle this one moving forward? They do have some history with something like this with Riley Cooper back in 2013. Same ownership group, obviously same GM. So do they handle Jackson differently?
I think the way that they need to handle this is transparently. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but hear me out. I think that there's this moment, and whether it was Drew Brees and what he said that was so hurtful to people around the Black Lives Matter movement, or whether it's what we saw from DeSean, I think at some point we've got to get to a spot where when people do speak out in a way that's hurtful, that the primary goal is explaining, educating, and growing, right? And I don't know how we get there. I don't have all the answers, and I think this is one of the most interesting things about the world we're living in right now. It's changed so drastically in the last 2 or 3 months that accountability matters more than ever. So you've got to find a way to hold people accountable when they say things that are hurtful to an entire group of people. And I think what he did and what he posted and what he said was absolutely awful in every possible way. So the question is, for the Eagles and for DeSean, and I think for everybody around the NBA, how do you transparently let people know that, hey, this isn't okay, we don't stand with this, and we're also going to educate on why it's not okay, and we're going to make sure that everybody around him gets the opportunity to speak their truth, and then everybody through all of it can explain the hurt in a way that it really connects so that he doesn't do it again. I mean, there has to be some level of how do we grow from all of these things? Otherwise, our quick answer is going to be just to throw everybody out the door that ever does anything that's hurtful, and I just don't think that that's realistic for the next generation of Americans. That's just not how we are. So we've got to find a way in this situation to make sure that whatever he's going through, to be better educated on what he said and why it was awful, is very transparent so that everybody knows that the Eagles and he are striving to be better.
Good stuff, Jason Fitz. I'll get you out on this. Broads has on a knockoff tee that he bought at the Phillies game. It's Bryce Harper, Reese Hoskins. It says Bash Brothers. He got it from some guy on the street for $10. Is that acceptable, one? And two, have you ever bought the knockoff tee at a sporting event?
Hey, I'm cheap, so we all know the answer to that. I mean, come on. I remember the first shirt that I ever saw as a little kid. I was at an NFL game in Foxborough, old Foxborough, and it was the Bears and the Patriots. And so we're talking I think it was late 80s, early 90s. But I'll never forget the shirt outside somebody was wearing, had a Minuteman, and he was standing by a bear, and it said, "Hey, Chicago," and on the back it said an expletive, "The Bears." And so it was a very crass shirt. I remember my dad buying that at the time, and I feel like, yeah, I'm an outside the stadium cheap guy that wants a shirt but doesn't want to pay for it. Just don't tell any of my music buddies that, because it takes money straight out of the musician's pocket when you buy the merch outside of the stadium. So I'm not proud of it, but yeah, I mean, I've done it a million times.
I mean, it says Bash, but they never even been referred to as the Bash Brothers, though. That's the part. When I saw the shirt, I says, who are these Bash Brothers? It's Hoskins and Harper. No.
But here's the thing. Let me just defend myself. We have the Jetro parking lot where all the young people go to have a bunch of beers, shotgun beers before the game. I'm doing that, and then I'm walking to Citizens Bank Park. a Phillies t-shirt for $10 after I'm a little banged up. Of course I'm going to buy one.
Okay, so I do appreciate, and Mike Golick Jr. and I often joke that they should make a breathalyzer for Amazon, so you have to blow into it, and then Amazon tells you whether or not you're allowed to shop. This would change all of our bank accounts. So I get it. I get the buying it, but now you're wearing it. still. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a little bit of blame on that.
Well, hold on. I just moved into a new house. The washer and dryer is in the basement, not set up yet. This is my first week there. So I'm at the bottom of my drawers because I can't get my laundry done yet. So there is a valid excuse.
Not bad.
You've changed. I'm totally on the side. I've now moved over. Like, lack of laundry is also something I get completely. That is 1,000% on that.
Jason Fitz, you'll hear him 7 to 9 starting August 17th here on 97.3 ESPN. He's the host of First Take Your Take right now, and he joined us like all guests on the Boardwalk on the hotline. Jay, take care, man.
Y'all have a great week. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, always appreciate him jumping on. Good stuff.